Tiffany here. Welcome back to brokegirlaesthetic. Happy June. In this video, I'm going to do a couple of YouTuber inspired rainbow projects. This first one is courtesy of Alicia English, and it's a macrame rainbow ornament, just a hanging decor piece. I'm going to use some Dollar Tree yarn and some macrame cord. I use macrame cord in place of the Dollar Tree nautical rope because we don't have that at ours at the time. And just, 4 different colors of really pretty yarn that I picked up there. And I have this thick wire that I've had on hand for quite a long time. I don't know where it came from, but I'm using that to shape my little arches. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. So just starting with the wire, I'm going to cut out my pieces for my rainbow. And if you watched my Pampas Grass Sun video, I think it's from 2 weeks ago, this is old footage. I did this stuff last year, but I never put the video together. It was for a different challenge. So I thought, well, I needed some content and I had it, and it's worked out perfectly. So I'm voicing over the old footage and I don't remember anything. So I don't remember how I did anything. So this is me just figuring out this size. I'm trying to take into account the thickness of the cord and everything else. I make it work. So I'm just going to make my 4 pieces of wire for my little rainbow. Now that I have my 4 pieces cut, I'm just going to straighten them out so I can put the put the cord and the yarn and stuff on them. So I'm using my Surebonder glue gun, Surebonder hot glue, and I'm just going to tack it down on there to hold it in place. I mean, it's going to get wrapped with the yarn anyway. So I'm just going to sandwich it in between 2 lengths of the cord. So it'll be double the cord. And I've got all of that cut, so it's just time to glue it together. Making sure I leave enough on each end to, fluff out. So I just folded it in half, made sure they were put together to create like a little channel, and I'm just putting a little bit of glue in that little bit of channel, I guess you want to call it, and let my piece of wire just rest down in there, and then tacking it down as I go along. And I'll do the same for the other 3 links. Now that I have all of those glued together, so now I'm going to start wrapping my yarn around, and starting at the end, I obviously want to hide that wire, so I'm going to make sure I tack it down first, just so it's easier. And I guess I lost the footage of that, unless I didn't record it. Again, tacking, I'm going to make sure I tack that down, make sure it's all nice and secure, and then just wrap around from one end to the other, making sure I leave some at the ends. As you can see, it's all wrapped up nice and tight. Can't really see where that's at, so I'm pulling it up and then wrapping it around. I think I show here how I did that. Yeah, like I said, just tacking it down a little bit with the glue. And then I just wrap around that end so that end is not out or anything. A little extra security to it. covering up that, any of that wire that might be showing or sticking out. And just wrapping it really nice and tight. Don't want to see any of the white through there. Don't want to see any of that wire through there. Trying to make it uniform and even. As you can see, that's, there's a little bit of that sticking out, but for the most part you can't see any of that other cord or wire through there. And that's the goal here. So nice and tight, just wrapping it around all the way from one end to the other. And I'll repeat that process for the other ones as well. So now that I have those done, it's time to assemble them. So I'm just going to gently bend and get my first arch shape. Try and even up the ends, make sure it looks okay. And just fold them in and fit them inside, stacking them inside each other. Again, making sure the ends are even. Ish. I'm sure there could have been a more precise way to do it, but that's not how I roll. So there's the basic idea of how that's going to look. Super cute. And I will use my hot glue to put it together. I'm just taking a little bit of hot glue on the inside of that largest one. Making sure it's going to fit in there. And then same thing again on the other side. And I'll just glue in and add in the other two pieces. And then I've got just some jute twine for a hanger. And a couple of beads. Just to add some little detail. Right now I've got those glued together. And then I need to, I'll add my hanger with this jute twine. And I've just got a big fat needle to help me. Just got this big fat needle right here. And I just use a little bit of glue on the end. And I'm just using that needle to help me thread it through there because I didn't glue. So it would be easy to get the twine through for the hanger. And once I decide how long I want it, then I'm just gonna add this little wooden bead, knot the top of it, and that's it. Then I have to brush out and trim the macrame cord at the bottom. Go ahead and give that a trim quick. There we go. That's pretty good. Now it's just time to fluff it up. So I just do that until both sides have been fluffed out or whatever. And that's that. So let's move on to the next craft. So this last one is resin. My favorite thing, right? And this one is courtesy of Can Sarah DIY It. Not only did she make a little rainbow light, but she also sent me the mold. So thank you, Sarah, for this one, because this actually is probably one of my favorite resin pieces so far. So I've just got some two-part epoxy. I've got some pigment powders. I've got my mold, my scale, all my mixing things, and little fairy lights, battery operated fairy lights, which are going to go in the mold. And yeah, I don't know where she got it. Maybe she linked it on her video. I don't remember actually, but so yeah, let's get started with this one. So what I'm going to do is put colors in each of these little channels and then fill in behind it. And I've got a bunch of little condiment cups that I'm going to use to mix for those. Um, if you saw my other rainbow resin cement thing that I did the last month, I think it was, I'll link that right up there. I did something similar with that. This one works out way better. So what I'm going to do is use my kitchen scale to make sure I have precise measurements to mix my resin. It's two-part, it's a 1-1 uh, epoxy resin. And if that little glimpse right there didn't give you an indication of how old this is, I had blue hair back then, and I haven't had blue hair in quite a while, so. So I'm weighing my container first, then I zero it out. Then I will pour my part A in. So I'm going in with the first part of the epoxy. I don't remember how much I used. I don't know if I filled it halfway, probably halfway, so I could mix the two into the other silicone thing that I have there. Well, I guess I poured it just right in, so the equal amount of the part B of the epoxy. And just stir, 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 stir for a couple minutes. And I've got that all stirred up. So now I'm going to pour it off into the little cups so I can mix my colors. I've got red, orange, green, blue, and purple. I'm only pouring a little bit in here because I'm not going to need much of each color. I'll grab all my mixing sticks and just start adding my pigment powder. And this is like a pearlescent, I guess, pigment powder. Just make sure I incorporate all that into each little cup of resin. I guess it's pink. Pinky red. I don't know. Just a pretty color. They're all really pretty colors. So I will get all of my colors mixed up. Right now, so I'm going to use a pipette and just get a bunch of that colored resin in the pipette to pipe into the little channels in the mold. Making sure I get all the way down in the little crevice there and filling it up without going over. This mold is really nice for that. Those channels are real nice and deep. Un Unlike that other mold, which, I mean, is awesome as well, it just wasn't as, those little channels weren't as deep, so they kind of, I overfilled. They were easy to overfill. So I will fill each one of the little channels with each color. So all my colors are in, and I'm going to let those set up a little bit before I fill it. I'm going to try and put the layer behind, and then in that is where the fairy lights will go. You can kind of get a little bit better idea of this shape here. Let that sit up and cure for just a little bit, and now I'm going to take some pearl, like a white pearly pigment powder. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is kind of dumb. Oh, right. Okay. making a layer of the pigment, the white pigment behind there to hide the lights. That's what it was. That's what I was trying to do. But I want to make it pretty opaque. You know, try to get a good solid color, which um, it's not. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a little translucent. Anyway, so just mixing that up real good, and then that will, uh, I'll pour that on top there. Super pearly. I mean, look how iridescent that is. Not iridescent, pearly, shiny. It would have been sweet if it was pearlescent too. So I think it should be opaque enough to kind of hide the lights, the wires, but still translucent enough to show the light through. I may have to revisit this one again. I'm kind of pouring onto the stick carefully and then pouring onto uh the other resin. Just to make sure that nothing bleeds. I did so much better with this one than I did the second time around. This particular resin I was using was pretty forgiving. It sat up, you know, wait, it cured enough to have me pour on top of the colors, but I could leave it sit in the other container and it wasn't curing, so if that makes sense. It seemed to work out okay, is what I'm saying. And I do think I make a little bit more to go in here. So I will just fill that up. So I'll let this part cure for a while and then I do the lights and the final layer of resin on the back. So here I've got the lights in, added that final layer of resin, and yeah, so let's take a look at how this turned out. That's fresh out of the mold, and you can still see the lights, but that's all right. I'll show you what it looks like in the dark, and yeah, there it is in the dark. Let's take a look at the finished reveal shots. These macrame rainbows are so cute, easy to make, and you can customize them however you want to fit any kind of decor or holiday. So much fun, and I can't wait to make more of these. And I love my little rainbow resin light. It was so much fun. And thank you again to Can Sarah DIY It for sending me the mold and giving me the inspiration to try this for myself. If you haven't already, would you take a moment and hit the subscribe button? And don't forget to ring the notification bell to be alerted to my new uploads. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Take care, y'all. Bye.